Adrian, stick your finger up. And hello, everybody. It is the Network Marketing Leadership Show. I am Tom Chenault, Santa Claus by some standards. I don't have my mask on because I'm already roasting to death, but we have a tremendous show today, and you are going to love it. My little co-host, Adrian Chenault, is here with me. Adrian, don't you just love these women?
This is just so exciting. I love both these women, and what a fun show we're going to have today. This is going to be awesome.
Here's what they've done at an amazing level. They have decided that they are going to change the image of network marketing in the world. And they decided, you know, they obviously have written these tremendous 2 books already. One of them has at least half of them. The Flip-Flop CEO, and also the Does the Shoe Fit? And they introduced Denise years ago, and I fell in love with them after watching that interview. And then I got to be on their podcast, which absolutely rips. Their podcast is so much better than this show. It's unbelievable. And you definitely want to listen to a bunch of their interviews, of which one is me. And we just posted that in the comments because it is going to knock your socks off. And they are committed to changing and upholding the image of network marketing at a level you wouldn't believe. Laura was the president of XL Communications, if you can believe that. And then she went on to be the president of Shackley, if you can believe that. And then she said, these jobs suck, and decided to go out in the world and build an organization, which I think is brilliant. And she's back out in the field, but she and Janine, who's an author and a writer and a thinker and an impactor and a mastermind in her own rank, these 2 decided to put this podcast together. And I truly believe it's changing the world, not just for men, but also for women. No, not also, I said that backwards. So anyway, how are you, Janine? What's going on?
I am wonderful. I'm so happy to be here and so happy I get to see you in your Santa suit.
I know it.
I have one question for you. Do you have peanut butter under your armpits?
Yeah. Did you guys watch the peanut butter armpit video?
The last time I was on your show, we were talking about it and I love it.
It's the best thing for little kids there is, man. They just they squeal with delight. They love it. And yeah, I am actually the recipients of the peanut butter armpit video. Adrian just cringes when I decide to babysit his children, those 3 unbelievable small kids. But they went crazy on that one, didn't they, Adrian?
They absolutely did, and that is a legend that lives on to this day. We actually, I mean, that's real TikTok material. Speaking of which, I feel like you could go viral, Tom.
Oh yeah, we ought to put that up and put that in the comments if you get a chance, Pamela or Marianne, so people can actually watch that thing. And then somebody will explain to me. I'll have Higdon. I saw Ray Higdon's doing a big thing on TikTok this week, and obviously Jesse Lee Ward is an expert at it. And you know, I have no idea if I'll ever do it. I think that they did something to multi-level marketers last week, so I'm actually mad at them anyway. I'm trying to get my face out of the half sun, half dark. But let's go. Let's talk about what you guys are up to. What are you guys doing impacting the world? Tell us. You can take it away, Janine, and then flip it over to Laura.
Yes, well, I am so grateful to have Laura as my partner here. We just are tired of everybody, of the media, of the press, of the whoever is out there perpetuating the stigma about network marketing. And it's time for us to stand up to that. And there are just a lot of people that are pretty negative. And while things are changing a lot, I think the press and the media continues to perpetuate a lot of the rumors. And so we want to be a voice of the other side of the story, of the good side of the story, and all of the wonderful things about this business whose time has come. And so that's what we're attempting to do. And what we need is for network marketers to participate in this mission. It's like we all need to be the change we wish to see, and we all need to take part in, spreading the word that this is truly the best kept secret way to earn an income.
There's no doubt about it. And Laura, you certainly have the background to talk about it from both sides of the coin, and just seeing companies withstand COVID. I mean, network marketing companies are one of the few, this is one of the only professions out there that is really getting stronger inside of this entire pandemic because it's home-based. So many of them are nutrition-based, but the word still isn't getting out. And the way that I know that the word still isn't getting out is the stock market. If you look at the whole space in the stock market from the DSA or anything else, the network marketing stocks still aren't screaming, even though they should be, because their sales and profits are holding while everybody else is going by the wayside. What do you think of that?
Yes, I feel like what I talk about with MLM You Decide, which is our podcast, is that there's a good and misunderstood side of MLM. I wasn't always working for an MLM company. I actually worked at direct selling companies, like direct marketing, like J. Crew and Disney. I was an executive at both of those companies and helped build their brands and establish their retail centers. And then I began working at network marketing companies, and I just fell in love with the business. I fell in love with the business model. It bothers me when I see that hurt people hurt people. And there are some hurt people as it relates to multi-level marketing and network marketing. They might have had a bad experience and they walked away hurt from it. And so therefore it's all bad. And I just don't think that's realistic and fair. We interviewed someone from the restaurant business the other day on our show, a restaurateur, and we all know how hard the restaurant industry and hospitality industries have been hit in the pandemic. Well, thank goodness he had a thriving and growing multi-level marketing business that had been his plan B, that is now his plan A. Because although he's a successful restaurant owner and has been for decades, it's just a very tough business right now for him. But he said something to us that answers what you were talking about, Tom. And he said that he believes the rise of network marketing as a viable work from home option for people is going to be a key contributor to economic recovery in the future for us. And that gets me excited. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, is to let people know this is a valid way to be able to create that additional stream of income or their mainstream of income, especially through the economic conditions we're going through and will be facing over the next year.
My buddies, Sue and Dennis Ligon have 21 tanning salons. During the lockdown, they lost $2 million. But what people didn't know was they were the 7th largest earners over at Vima. They moved that organization someplace else. And all they did was exactly what you said. They had to pivot, but they had a place to pivot back to, which most people don't. This ugly stepsister called network marketing became their absolute parachute. And I think that's indicative of everybody. And you are a big LinkedIn girl. You are a big social media woman. I watch you everywhere. And you know that it's a complete mess on LinkedIn because those people didn't have a plan B, who they were their education, their resume, their house, their job. And now they're standing there with their hat in their hands, and their pride is so big that they won't suspend their disbelief and take a look at this. And that's why it's so important that you've got this podcast to let them realize that really highly placed corporate people do have a place in this profession, because you guys are absolute living proof, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. There is a place in this profession, and we're featuring right now people from all different walks of life, whether it be a nurse or whether it be an attorney or a doctor or an actor. Imagine actors. They were out of a job as well during this crisis. And thank goodness our friend that we're going to be interviewing soon had this as a backup plan, which is now his full-time source of income.
Yeah. What do you think of that, Adrian? You came out of that whole world. Your friends, they still think you are absolutely crazy. Adrian was the international CFO of a $2 billion internet company based in Zurich, Switzerland, when all of a sudden he just said, you know what, if my past looks like my future in corporate America, I'm going to be dead by the time I'm 40. And he had to pivot like you're talking about the world pivoting. That was hard. That decision was hard, then easy, right, Adrian?
Yeah, I think that looking at what's happening out there right now, there's part one of that is that you gotta, I think your safety net is one part knowing what to, what you're going to do or what to
Eric
do.
Worre
if
is watching.
things-
Is that funny enough? He's up in Telluride. And Eric, during the break, we're going to talk about you extending the $97 deal. And I'm sorry, that's like breaking news when I saw his name come across the bow. He and Marina. I mean, they have already got over 30,000 people signed up for the next GoPro, much less the last one, which was the best one I've ever seen. And I'm in that accelerator program. And I am telling you, he just quantumly jumped up the ladder. He just lapped the competition with GoPro, and he and Pete Vargas and
Yes.
Pat Quinn. I always call Pat Quinn, Pat, your friend Pat Quinn's, but unbelievable job by those guys. So, and Sylvester Stallone and everybody they had was unbelievable. So I did not mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to acknowledge him because he blew my socks off here recently. So keep moving. Maybe he'll tell some of his friends to watch this. Keep going.
Yeah, Eric's unbelievable. So glad you're here, Eric. And yeah, I think when stuff hits the fan, part of it is knowing where you're going to go, and part of it is kind of what you've been doing to tend to your garden, whether that's relationships and your network and everything else, right? Warren Buffett talks about that you don't know who's been skinny dipping until the tide goes out. And I think that's a lot of what happens, right? Is, we get all of our eggs in one basket, and that's fine. Most people in the world have all their eggs in one career basket, but at least if you can take care of your relationships and if you can keep a network, then if you have to pivot, you have something to fall back on in the form of those relationships where you can pick up the phone and you can call somebody and say, hey, I need help. I need a different, I've got to figure out a way to monetize differently or to go and do something different than what I've been doing. And that was a big part of what happened for me, right? I was in a corporate career that was fantastic until it wasn't, and I wasn't happy. I wasn't in the right place anymore, and I needed to make a change. And thankfully, I had a relationship with a dad who was an incredible mentor, but I had a relationship with a lot of other people that allowed that transition to happen. So we got to take a break. We will be right back here in a few seconds. We are on the Genesis Communications Network. Thanks for coming on and watching with us, and we'll be right back after this. How about that?
That was a great break, Adrian. You did a heck of a job.
You took all my time. I didn't have time to throw it back to you, Dad, with your interruption.
Good job. Okay, so you talk about contact mapping and GoPro, GoPro 2021 during the break here, and talk about that. And I'll move my camera over so I'm not looking over here at the comments while I'm trying to listen to you, because I had that.
All right. So let's talk about GoPro first. So virtual GoPro was 2 weekends ago, and just unbelievable. I mean, starting with the production value and what they put together and the crazy timeline that they put it together on. Then you get to the content of Pete Vargas and Pat Quinn and Sylvester Stallone and Cardone. And I mean, just like such an incredible list of influencers, such an incredible list of people playing it huge in the field. And that's all great. It was a great show. But what I think struck me the most, and that I want to give the biggest kudos to Eric and his Marina and that whole team, is that people said they felt like it was a more intimate event than it was in person, which is just, that just blows you away, right? And I think that's true. And I think especially, for the people that aren't in the VIPs and the super VIPs where there is that kind of closeness, the people that are sitting in the back of the room, they really felt like they got to be in the front of the room with everybody else in a big way this time. And that was really remarkable. And so kudos to you, Eric, on that. Go ahead, Dad.
Nothing. I'm agreeing with you. I just hit a button to try to watch the comments here and change this thing around, and I got some sound, and I knew that was going to make you crazy. But yeah, I'm to think that they put together that $20 million facility from an idea to fruition in 90 days was unbelievable. And but you know what? Contact mapping, I'm just going to segue this. Marina Worre could not have done that without people. she had to draw on people. And the only way that you can draw on people is to know people that know people that know people to be able to pull that off. And the only way you can do that is to have a Rolodex that's got power, where people trust you, love you, belong with you, and know they're safe with you. And that's what Adrian's built there, right, Adrian?
100%. And where you know who you can trust, right? You don't exactly have time to run an RFP process to go from idea to execution in 70 days on a $20 million facility. And what Stephen Covey talks about is that trust basically equals speed, right? And so if you have a network that you can really trust and that trust you, then you don't have to have all these contracts and all this stuff that just slows everything down. Instead, when you need to pivot, when you need to make something happen fast, you don't, why would you ever Google anything? It's all, manufactured reviews and unfortunately, it's all fake anyway, because there's so much gaming happening trying to take your money. And so what do? We realize that trust and relationships are the things that are actually going to allow you to make it happen. And so having a network that is high trust and being a high trust person to others, that is a hugely, hugely valuable thing in network marketing, in career management, in anything that you're ever going to do. And so go to contactmapping.com/free, go see what we're talking about and how you can do this, because it's easy, it's powerful, and you can get started completely for free.
And we're back. It's the Network Marketing Leadership Show with Adrian Chenault and Laura Evans and Janine Finney. And I changed the order that way just because I don't know which way that apple turns. But these two women are unbelievable. And if you aren't plugged into them, you are missing them. And follow them on facial network, on social networks. I don't care which one you do it on. They say and do such important things. But the most important thing to do is follow their podcast, because the guests that they've got are unbelievable. And the depth of conversation is such that you've never seen anything like it. They are deep thinkers trying to figure out how to make you better in a profession that you can only get better in. And I'm 69 years old. I just did Go Pro. I just did the accelerator program. I will do every course between here and Timbuktu along with my wife, because all we can do is improve in you too. And this is all about serving people. And I just want to learn to be a better servant of people. And these women are teaching me to do that. So back to you, Janine. Give us some pointers on how they find you and what the future holds for your great podcast.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, I think MLM You Decide is really for skeptics, just like the Flip CEO and Does As You Bid. We're directing them to skeptics so that we can enlighten them. So it's a lot of podcasts for network marketers, really to help network marketers. And our goal is to enlighten the people that are unenlightened. And so, we were talking, you mentioned LinkedIn and the people on LinkedIn that really don't get this. And you know what? It's really not their fault. There are a lot of people out there and a lot of resources, again, the media, that perpetuate a lot of the stigma, and they don't have a voice. They don't have anybody in their lives to tell them the other side of the story. So that's what MLM You Decide is really, designed to do. And they can find us. Laura is the expert at how they can find us.
Well, sure. And the way I see it is we created this to be neutral. We tackle some topics that if you are building a multi-level marketing company, you may have encountered, such as, is this a pyramid scheme? The products are overpriced, or I don't want to use my friends, or, what are the top 5 things you should look for in a company? Why would someone like me that is an executive and has a rising career choose to walk away from her career and be involved in a network marketing company? And what would you look for in that type of company? And we talk about the difference between the employee mindset versus the entrepreneurial mindset. So we have episodes that cover these topics in a quick hit fashion, like maybe 15 minutes or less. So it gives you some things to think about. And we intentionally, as we interview what we call truths from the trenches, folks that are actually out there working in this business and making it happen, we keep it neutral, because we want everyone to feel safe to share this with that prospect or with that skeptic who, you know, might be able to learn or hear something differently. Sometimes a different voice has a greater impact, and that's what we're serving there. So that's what we're doing. But we have a website, mlmudecide.com. You can find us on Apple, MLM You Decide, and on Spotify, and all the places where you would listen to a podcast. You will find MLM You Decide. And we've also got a YouTube channel, MLM You Decide.
In the name of the game, everybody, and Eric Worre has put it out there that he'll debate anybody publicly at any time on MLM, on any conversation. And these women will too. So those skeptics out there that want to bash are really afraid to come into the light and step up and really put the gloves on with a Laura or an Eric or a Janine. And, you know, I'd be happy to mediate any of those debates at any time. But, you know, debating, when you're a hater, debating isn't what you want. You just want to throw shade with innuendo, just exactly like we just went through with an election. And that's just the way that goes. But what I love about you guys is you're not afraid to, you know, I'm kind of a fence sitting little weasel, you know, I don't make those stands like you guys do. I'm not as brave, and I love you for that. And so, you know, I don't even know why I'm not, but, you know, I don't make those kind of stands, and I kind of try to be Switzerland. And I love the fact that you guys are so strong in your conviction that you're not afraid to take anything on. So the MLMudecide.com podcast is where you want to go. And you want to go there right now during the break. And the break's going to be a little longer. Adrian's going to be talking contactmapping.com. We are going to do that because we want you to be the most connected people on the planet. Everybody says, Tom, I'd love to have your downline. Okay, well, here's my database. Go get it. I'd love to have your contacts. Well, here's my database. Go take them. And the reason I can tell you that, because my database is worthless to you. My database has strength as a result of the relationships in it. And that's what I want for all of you. So contactmapping.com, go there. We're coming back right after this. Sean Murphy's on here. Eric Worre on here. Kim Calabrese on here. Crazy crowd watching this. Go ahead. Adrian, take it away, baby.
Yeah, thanks. So Janine, I would love to ask you a question about this, because I think that topic that we got onto earlier was really important in thinking about, you know, you work mostly with women, you're inspiring them, you know, inside of this profession and showing them kind of the way and demystifying it. How important is it to build a great network? And, you know, what goes into that for you, from your perspective, is somebody who's looking to build a network marketing business for themselves?
Oh my gosh, that relationship is everything. And I think for me, I am very much about a warm market, but what I've been doing recently with the pandemic is really going to the LinkedIn market. And what I'm really finding out so quickly is when you don't have a relationship with someone, when they don't know you and trust you, you know, how do you build that quickly? Because it's the kind of thing that really happens when somebody has experience with you. So for especially outside of your warm market and contacts that you don't know as well, you know, really following up with them, really bringing value to them, really showing them why, you know, people don't want to do business with you until they know you care about them. And, you know, it's so important to do that. And so having a resource to make it easier to do that is invaluable.
Yeah, that's so huge. And you're exactly right. People need to know you care about them. They need to know they can trust you. And one of the big ways to show people they can trust you is to do what you say you're going to do and to follow up, right? And so, you know, especially as you're building on LinkedIn, you know, with both of you to, you know, big in that space, you know, how many people, it's just this barrage of people trying to connect with you. You know, they try to pitch you the first words out of their mouth, and then they're nowhere to, you know, it's so frustrating, but it's also so easy to stand out if you instead say, I'm going to behave like a real professional here. I'm going to be clear about what I'm up to. I'm going to give, step through a process with you to get to know your story, to learn who you are, to show you that I care. I'm going to, send you what I said I was going to send you when I said I was going to. I'm going to call you when I said I was going to. These little things go such a long way in building relationships and professional trust and all this kind of stuff. And you really, you can really make an impression on somebody just by doing those basic things well, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. I wish we could ban all of the people that do it wrong and that are all about themselves and that just sort of spam people. It's awful, and it's awful for our profession because it gives us a bad reputation, and that's not the way it's meant to be. That's not the way we are to do it. We should be acting professionally.
Yeah. And what's crazy is I think it's even worse on LinkedIn than it is on Facebook. At least on Facebook, if somebody does that, like you can kind of just call them a jerk and move on. But LinkedIn, it's almost like that's the default behavior in literally easily over half of the sort of random requests that I get immediately are some pitch, some, I want 15 minutes of your time with no context. It's like, no one wants to talk to you and give 15 minutes, even 15 minutes of their time when they don't have a reason to believe that you actually care about them, that you have any idea who they are, that you are in it to serve them. And so turning that on its head is so powerful and so valuable. And I was telling Laura before the show, we actually just, as part of contact mapping, we have launched several social media integrations, including LinkedIn recently. And it's been amazing because we're helping a generation of network marketers and people across many professions to show up in that more professional way, to be able to do what they say they're going to do. And it, making it easy for you to follow through in the way that you're supposed to, but sometimes just life gets in the way if you don't have the right tools. So go to contactmapping.com/free. You can see a video about what you get inside of the free version. These social media integrations are part of our premium version, and man, they are powerful. The testimonials that we're getting from them are huge. So go check that out.
And we're back. It is the Network Marketing Leadership Show. We are here with Adrienne Chenault and two adorable, great, deep, smart, incredible women that my wife, Denise, hooked me up with, first of all. And I will be forever grateful for that because they were on my radar. And when I heard they were doing this podcast, I was impressed with it. When I went and looked at who they were, I was 10 times more impressed. And when I listened to it, it blew my mind. And now it's part of my daily routine to stay on top of who they're interviewing. And I am telling all of you, if you love this profession, I want you to listen to it. I want you to support it. I want you to like it. I want you to believe in it. And ultimately, I want you to build your business big enough that you're on it. And that's what you have to do. Because this industry, this profession, these women aren't old. I'm old. But we need lots more young people embracing what these women are talking about. Right or wrong, Laura?
Oh, 100% correct. And I'll tell you, I actually find in a younger demographic more acceptance to multi-level marketing, to network marketing. They've seen their parents be loyal to a company at a traditional job, and it hasn't always worked out well, or their family has missed, their parents have missed time out from them. So I find that they're a little bit more open to this. And of course, they're very familiar with on social media being an affiliate or being an influencer and being able to get paid for products and services. And so I love that. What we like to do is help them navigate through some of the pitfalls that they might run into so that they don't get discouraged, because, being an entrepreneur, you've got to learn some different things. It's a different skill set than being an employee. And there was a lot of things I had to unlearn as an employee and as a boss when I went to being an entrepreneur, where I was serving others and leading others through my service to them and my support to them, versus being able to, tell somebody what to do or just answering questions. I was asking more questions. So I believe that the podcast fills a great void there.
You went through, and I'm sorry, Janine, I want to ask her one more question. I just got a text about it. The FTC at the end of the Obama administration, going into the Trump administration, going back to the Biden administration, really got pretty doggone down on the network marketing space with that Judith Ramirez. And they replaced her, obviously, but now we're going into another administration. You've obviously got a lot of people that don't like this profession. What do we need to do to make sure we're going to protect ourselves? Because you were in management through those times. What do we need to do to protect our image, our reputation, and our profession from people that just want to shut us down?
It's all about integrity.
Mm-hmm.
It comes back to leading with integrity. And, look, we've all been around long enough, no matter who you are, that we know what it's like to be over advertised and overhyped too. When you've got something good, you don't need to overhype it and over advertise it. You can be authentic with it. And I would just encourage people to be careful with their hashtags, because now more than ever in our social media world, the FTC or any government party can identify and find things that they disagree with, typically because of the hashtags. So be careful with your hashtags. You don't need to overpromise. Be authentic, lead with integrity, show up in love and in service to others, and you're going to be just fine. And I say bravo to the FTC for addressing companies that are not doing things correctly. I'm talking about, there are companies that do not handle business correctly, that do not have their compensation plan designed to benefit being fair and balanced. So I'm okay with that. I also find a lot of journalists misreference an FTC editorial that was done by a doctor, a late doctor, a PhD many years ago, where he had a real bent against multi-level marketing. And in it, he said, no one makes any money. And that gets referenced as an FTC document. And it is not an FTC document. It's an editorial from a late PhD that had a real issue and had no way of knowing inside of companies who was making what. He just had a beef about it. So that's one of the reasons why we have the podcast, is let's talk about what the facts are. And let's talk about, what can be done. Aside from any hype, let's talk about what's real. And look, I remember in the last recession, I heard a statistic that $400 a month could have kept people out of foreclosure. Just an extra $400 a month. So that matters. It matters if you could make $500, $1,000 a month to people, as much as it can be a game changer in making $10,000 a month or $100,000 a month. And I've seen and helped people do all of that. I just want to say that we're in a time where all of it matters. And we know that in leading organizations, we appreciate everyone for where they're at in terms of, where they are with the business or where they are as a customer using the products.
Where's that fit for you, Janine?
Oh, exactly. I feel exactly the same way. It's everything that Laura just said is
Right on the money.
right on the money. Yes.
And the name of the game, everybody, is it's not somebody else's job. It's your job to be part of the solution. These two can't do it. Eric can't do it. Ray Higdon can't do it. Fraser Brooks can't do it. Richard Brooke can't do it. Have you had Brooke on yet?
Yes.
We have, yes.
Yeah, we got to get him back. He's a thought-leading son of a gun and not afraid to say what he's thinking, and that makes me happy. So, Adrian, what do you think about that? There's a little pipsqueak going up through this.
I think that these bite-sized perspectives on the profession, I just think it's so invaluable, because I think there's a lot of people out there. There's a ton of misinformation out there in the marketplace in both directions, right? There's people that can't see the forest for the trees because they think MLM is perfect and that everybody out there is a naysayer, and they're wrong. There are people who can't see the forest for the trees out there because they think everything's a pyramid scheme or nobody makes any money or this is crazy or whatever it is. And they're wrong too. And giving a perspective and, I love your background, Laura. I already loved it, but I love it even more knowing that you came out of J. Crew and some of these other companies where, I'm a finance guy by background. And so, there's how much it costs to make the product. And that's not that different between one company to another company. And then there's the layers of who gets paid along the way, getting a product from a factory all the way out to the marketplace at J. Crew versus getting a product from the factory all the way out to the marketplace in an MLM company. And it's a different group of people getting paid, but it's not all that different in how much is getting paid out. And people are getting themselves totally wrapped around the axle on information that is not right, that doesn't make sense. And when somebody sits down and goes, look, like let's just line up the income statements and let's look at how these two things compare to each other. And then let's just say that this, if you want to be the person who is, the middleman and is going to make money along the way, which of these two options do you want to be? Do you want to be the sales rep in the store at a J. Crew? Or do you want to be representing a company that you love where you get to take a much bigger piece of the pie? I mean, it just makes sense to be a much bigger piece of the pie. And, you see all these influencers out there, whether it's the Kardashians or, those big people, or, down through, people that have however many thousand followers on Instagram that are getting paid to put something out there. And a lot, the reality is a lot of them don't push a lot of product. And instead of doing that, don't go chase shiny, right? Just go and build an organization and learn how to attract people that want to do what you want to do. Don't overhype them, don't oversell them, because the math makes sense in those who can understand it. And it's not calculus, it's arithmetic. So having somebody like Laura and somebody like Janine who are going to explain it to you in a 15-minute bite-sized chunk, and not only that, but give you something that you can go and share with somebody who's maybe a skeptic, that gives an external voice to that's worth its weight in gold. So I love what you guys are doing, and I'm so excited. I didn't know about the podcast. I can't wait to go and dive into it. So how many episodes in are you, by the way?
I believe it's about 32.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
All in 2020, or did you start in 2019?
All in 2020. We started in September of 2020. Yes. And yes, we have been busy, and we've got just a great variety of interviews, backgrounds, as well as topics.
Yeah, what we're starting to do right now are actually some career comparisons to help people understand, because there's so many people right now that are needing to pivot, and they're praying for what we have, but they don't recognize that they're just not informed. I think that's the bottom line, is that we just need for people to understand the business model. And so what the career comparisons are doing is really helping somebody understand what it's like to have been a nurse coming into network marketing. Why would somebody make that transition? And that was one of the podcasts that we just recorded recently, and it was amazing. I mean, I just loved hearing all the reasons why it makes complete sense for somebody to go from being a nurse to network marketing. And so I just think, it's making people more aware that this is a viable option for people that are needing to pivot.
It really, really is. And there's just so much, it's a profession to be really proud of. And I think sometimes the hyping and all that kind of stuff is maybe symptomatic of thinking that it isn't good enough to stand on its own 2 feet. And that's a crazy mistake to make on two different levels, right? It undermines you both, because it's going to get you in trouble and get your company in this profession in trouble. And it's a mistake because you're actually, by doing that, you're distracting from the actual merits of the profession that you're a part of in the first place.
Okay, so I am also a professional mind reader. So those of you that don't know that, I want you to know that I can read minds. So I'm going to do that right now to prove that to you. So right now I'm going to do this. Aha! Do you want me to tell you what you're thinking, Laura, and what you're thinking, Janine? Want me to tell you what you're thinking right now?
Please
yes.
do.
Why didn't we interview Adrian? So that is a fact, and that's so true. He is. I mean, you guys are all perfectly peas in a pod. And what I love about that is all of you watching and listening you're going to be able to go back and send your prospects to this, because this is not a hype show. This is deep thinkers that came from a completely different reality, saw this and joined it and embraced it, which is exactly what all those people out there in the world are looking at right now. They've got a whole new reality that they need to embrace, understand, and join. And that's why I want you to go to this podcast, because it's going to change your life. And they are great. So whatever you do, jump in there, go to it. We're going to talk about your trafficking obsession a little bit in the next break, because I think it's so important. So we're coming back right after this. This is the Genesis Communication Network. Our friend Ted Anderson has kept us on here for free for 12 years. We love you, Ted. Merry Christmas. And we'll be back right after this. And we're back. Hello, Adrian. Take it away, little boy blue.
All right, awesome. So I'd love to flip it over to you, Laura, and talk about the transition coming back from the corporate side out into the field, and what it's been like to go out there and be on the front lines, building your network as as somebody in the field building a business. What's been the best and most rewarding part of that for you?
Well, I did have an exit strategy. I planned. It was not an impulsive decision that I made, and I had sat at the feet and learning from so many leaders for decades. Some of the best, like my friend Pat Hintz, like Tom, like your dad, like Eric Worre, Richard Brooke, many. And for me, one of the hardest things was learning how to go from selling and telling to asking questions. I mean, intellectually, I knew that was a strategy and a technique that builds trust and helps me to show up better in serving someone else and offering what's best for them. But I struggled with that so much that I actually started writing a question mark on my wrist, and had to help remind me in any conversation or presentation I was having that I need to be asking more questions. Ask the next question, ask the next question, frame whatever I want to say in terms of a question. And it became so much a part of what I do that I actually tattooed it on my wrist. So I tattooed the question mark on my wrist to remember to be asking questions and learning more about others than trying to push whatever my agenda or whatever my thoughts were on them. And so that was my biggest transition, my biggest skill change from one to the other. And organization is important too, which is why I love what you're doing with contact mapping, because it's so easy. As an employee, you show up to work and you know what you're supposed to do. And you sort of have an idea whether you've done it or not for that day. And many times your calendar is filled in for you. When you're out here on your own at your house, your office, your kitchen, it's easy to get distracted. And you think that you're doing things that produce income, but you're not. And so being able to effectively track that is super, super important. It was my advice last night on my team holiday party as everybody closes out 2020 and heads into 2021 to get organized as they head into 2021.
It's such a huge, huge deal. And man, if you think you're serious about shifting yourself and putting yourself in the right position, if you haven't tattooed it on your hand or your wrist, you're not serious enough. Goodness gracious, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Today. Adrian, I need to interrupt you. Those of you watching, because we're on the commercial, and so that way it won't be into the podcast, but at 5 o'clock Pacific time, we're going to put all the little kids on, and that's why I'm all dressed up. I'll have a beard, and we're going to do a virtual come and see Santa and tell him what you want for Christmas. Sean Murphy and Pamela and Marianne are going to be my elves. And we're just going to let those little kids sit on, I don't want to sit on Santa's lap, sounds creepy to me. So it's going to be a virtual, I'm going to listen to them and try to make them feel a little bit better about a very strange Christmas. So that goes in an hour and a half. And I just want to let everybody know it's open to everybody. We're going to do it on Tom Chenault Zoom, and it's going to be epic. So be sure to get on for that if you get a chance. So back to you, Adrian.
All right. That's on tomchenaultzoom.com. And we are coming back from the break right now.
And we're back. Final segment with two unbelievably incredible, committed, and wonderful women, Janine Finney and Laura Evans. And what you don't know is they are not only brilliant, but they are focused on this trafficking problem, which is everywhere. It's the secret nobody really wants to talk about. It's horrific what's going on. It's still going on under our noses with some of the most powerful people in the world pulling it off. It makes me sick. And these women have actually embraced that cause too. Talk about it a little bit, Laura.
Yes, well, my daughter was sexually abused and trafficked by our next door neighbor, her best friend's dad, and it was in an upstanding neighborhood in Texas, and it was shocking to me. I just didn't know the statistics. I didn't understand that. I thought that stranger danger was the main thing to be afraid of and to teach the kids to be careful of, and I learned that it's often 90% of the time people that are befriending them, that are closest to them, that do the damage. So I've been involved very actively. I have a blog about it. I'm involved in, I'm a child sexual abuse prevention educator with Darkness to Light organization. I support ExodusCry.com. I also support TraffickingHub.com. And Trafficking Hub, the root of, I believe, the increase in child sex abuse trafficking comes from child pornography. And that was also an issue with our daughter and her neighborhood friends. And that has to be dealt with. I mean, technology is amazing these days. The fact that we have technology out there that is allowing abuse of children and abuse and violence of women to be profited on is unacceptable. So we actually had a big win with Trafficking Hub this past week. There was a great expose article in the New York Times exposing that what this organization does, and they ended up removing 10 million videos of child sexual abuse and rape from their website, which is about 75% of their catalog. So that was a huge win. And we just are not stopping there. We're just going to keep going after it. And we want to hold the executives accountable for that, because they knew what they were doing when they promoted and created a financial reward and incentive for individuals to upload videos of such acts.
Good deal. And Tony Robbins is really, I mean, there's some really powerful people finally in the game to shut this thing down. And if you can be a part of that, what's the website for that?
Trafficking.hub. So trafficking.hub, HUB as in boy.
Okay, go. And I'm just telling you all to do that. So we're going to get out of here in a few minutes. You guys want to say anything beautiful to the people to get them to come to you and to be better people and to love their life more? And I have no idea what that sentence meant either. So take it away.
Everybody just needs to fire their brain and hire their heart. Like
yes, they do.
On our podcast. We would so appreciate people that are in network marketing spreading the word about the podcast and sharing the podcast with people that don't really understand our business model. And again, just let's enlighten people. It's not their fault. There's just a lot of bad information and half truths out there. And so the people that don't understand it, it's not necessarily their fault. They're not going to look for the other side of the story. So we have to make it available and get it out there. So.
And I just want to jump in and say, rate and review us, especially on Apple Podcasts. That is how we get discovered and found by somebody that is searching on the MLM topic, which could be a prospect that you're working with who goes out and does their own research without telling you. You want them to find us, not some of the other things that are out there, because we're positive, we're neutral, and we will send them back to you for clarification and direction. So rate and review us, and you can find us everywhere. We have an Instagram account, we have a LinkedIn account, we've got a Facebook account, we've got a Facebook group that we will share sort of behind the scenes discussion and content with. MLM, you decide.
Have you gotten Eric on here yet?
No, but we would love to.
I'll take care of that right now. I'll do that.
I was going to say, do I know anybody that could help me with that?
In fact, I'm going to change my name from Thomas Virgil to Better Call, because I want to be known in the world as Better Call Chenault, because that's all I put for. I'm a great place to visit. You don't want to live here. It's But that's my job, is to get in the door and then let the experts take over. And that's what Adrian did with contact mapping. That's what I want you to do with your wonderful podcast. And I'll go get you that. And another guy that should help you. Have you guys had Mark Victor Hansen yet?
Not yet. Would
Yeah.
love it.
He's also a blowtorch and very parallel to what you guys are up to. So I'll take care of that today too. So Adrian, you got any further thoughts before we get these girls out of here?
I just want to say thanks so much to both of you. You know, I think there's so much of a need for credible external sources that build up the contact mapping, the network marketing profession, and that allow us to build a pedestal for what this profession can accomplish, because we need it more than ever. And so thanks to both of you for doing that. We didn't talk too much about your books today, Janine, but you know, you've made such a big difference, and it's amazing. I actually knew of you before I knew you had anything to do with network marketing, because some friends of mine were just so incredibly taken with what you do, and we're sharing your social media stuff all the time. And so I had a listening for you before I ever even knew any of that. So go and check out Janine's books, go and check out this podcast, and use these things to help you be a better network marketer, because you don't have to be the expert. In fact, you know, just as Laura talked about, right? The more you can not be the expert, ask questions, use tools, use third parties, the more effective you're going to be at building your business. So thanks so much.
And follow up, people. That's the key. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening. Lisa Grossman and Curtis Broom the week after that. We'll see you later.
Bye, everybody. Great job, you guys. That was so fantastic. Well
You are
done.
so crazy good.
Great job to you. We need to have you on our podcast too, Adrian. You can talk about making the leap from corporate to this.
Are we still live on Facebook?
We
Yeah, we're
are still on Facebook for a few
But
minutes.
now you can cuss.
Okay. Well, you are Santa. You're sort of a Make-A-Wish Santa tonight.
Amen.
You're
gonna be
granting wishes tonight.
Yeah, I went close to my camera and just threw myself out of focus. But yeah, it's so great. You guys were the perfect Christmas week guests, and we love you. We truly love you. And you can come back anytime something's new,
Thank you.
either on the network marketing front where you want to get the word out, or on the trafficking front. Know that our show is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Tom. I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's very generous. Thank you. And Merry Christmas. And Adrian, it's so nice to meet you. I look forward to getting to know you better too.
Likewise. Thank you both. Great to see you. Merry Christmas.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.